Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my first impressions look on the brand new Nike A1, right? So I got both of the colorways in. The only colorway that I don't have is the pink colorway because I missed the drop because my iPhone alarm, there was something wrong with it, right? So yeah, this is A'ja Wilson's first signature shoe with Nike, and if you guys didn't know, the designer of this shoe is Ben, right? And Ben is also the designer of the Kyrie signature shoe line, starting from the Kyrie 4. He's a great designer, and just first of all, this shoe looks freaking amazing, right? This is the Indigo Girl colorway, and that's because that was A'ja's nickname when she was a child. And we got my favorite colorway so far, which is the OG Pearl colorway. And this colorway is inspired by a pearl necklace given to her by her grandma, which, look at this, it looks so freaking clean. So this shoe also retails for $110, which is amazing. That's usually the starting price for a brand new signature shoe line. You know, the Kyrie 1 was 110 bucks, right? The PG 1 was 110 bucks. There's a whole bunch of first signature shoes that start off as around the 110, 120 bucks. So if you guys do want to cop the OG Pro colorway is still available. I try to leave in the fee link in the description box. If you do choose to get this shoe, it does help me out if you buy it through the fee link in the description box. And as always, thank you guys so much for all the support. And also my socks are available. It's called Young Hone. It's my own brand. And I try to make an all-around, very well-rounded sock. So something that's very comfortable but not too thick, you know, like a basketball sock, you know, because some basketball socks have a lot of padding, but also it has nice padding comparing it to just like normal socks, you know. So it's just a great all-around sock that looks good. You can go out in it, work out in it, and hoop in it. So a link to that will be in the description box as well. But let's get it started right off with the Tracciones, right? So the traction pattern is pretty interesting. So we got some serrated lines, right? We got a curved line here in the forefoot and kind of goes all the way down here into the heel and goes into like this like pointy shape, right? And we got a solid white rubber outsole in this colorway, and we have like a nice light blue, aqua blue colorway for the pretty much the entire outsole, and then we got a really dark blue here at the tip of the toe. And yeah, how does the traction feel? It feels freaking phenomenal. Whatever rubber compound that they're using here in this shoe, it feels really nice so far on my wood floors, right? So just trying it on and you know, trying out the traction, trying out the grip just on my wood floors. Of course, my wood floors have a different surface than in an actual basketball court, right? But it is just my first impressions. I haven't played in these yet, and the bite is really freaking good. It has a nice hard stop and also a very nice loud high-pitched squeak, which of course has nothing to do with performance, but if you like to have a nice squeak, these shoes are pretty dang squeaky, which I do like, right? And also the grooves aren't super close together, you know what I mean? There are some pretty wide gaps, you know, in this traction pattern, so hopefully it doesn't pick up too much dust, especially since it is serrated, you know what I mean? So yeah, the traction is feeling really good. Also, as far as durability goes, however, the durability doesn't seem the greatest, you know what I mean? The grooves are really like deep, which I think is good, but also that's a downfall in my personal opinion because it's just so, the grooves are really thin too. It's not a thick groove, so having it deep and really thin makes it really pliable, you know what I mean? And it's not the softest rubber, but it is easily moved by my finger, so it doesn't seem like it'll be the most durable outsole, especially if you're going to be playing with it outdoors. But yeah, the traction is feeling really nice so far. Also, we have a swoosh in the middle of the outsole and also her logo, right? So there is a traction there. Moving on to the heel to toe transition, overall feels really smooth, right? So here in the heel, we got a nice curved shape as well as a fully exposed Cushlon 3.0 midsole. It seems like it might even be a carrier, however. It doesn't say anything about that. It just says it's a Cushlon 3.0 midsole. But it's not super soft like, you know, like the Luka 4s. The Luka 4 Cushlon is extremely soft. Even the Sabrina 2, just feeling it with my fingers, pretty soft, you know what I mean? But either way, it's fully exposed. It allows for a little bit of compression as well here in the heel, so it feels pretty smooth, right? And then coming here into the forefoot, it has a nice curved shape too, so just from the overall shape, it feels pretty smooth. And also, it is pretty stiff, surprisingly, you know what I mean? Like, right? It is able to flex, but also you gotta put a little bit of force into the forefoot to actually flex the forefoot. And then once it's flexed, that's a nice springiness. Look at that. Oh my goodness, right? So that feels extremely nice. And also torsional support is really freaking good. It's like really stiff here, right? Which is very different from a lot of Nike hoop shoes For example, like the Jaw 2, the Sabrina 2, the Luca 4s, you know what I mean? They're all really, really flexible. This one is actually a lot stiffer than that and has a nice springy and bouncy feel here in the forefoot, which I like. Yeah, I like a little bit better than like a super smooth feel, you know what I mean? There is the heel to toe transition. Moving on to the cushioning setup. So the cushioning setup is pretty nice, you know what I mean? It is using Cushionlon 3.0, like I said. However, it's not using a zoom unit. Yeah, it is lacking a zoom unit, which kind of sucks, you know what I mean? Because if you look at the Kyrie 1, the Kyrie 1, I believe, had a zoom unit in the forefoot, right? Even though you couldn't really feel it. And also the PG 1, which was also 110 bucks, used the forefoot zoom unit. So, yeah, I don't know why they're not using a forefoot zoom, but also the Kyrie 1 and PG 1 were using a really stiff and crappy final midsole. So, yeah, I guess it evens out maybe because the A1 is using Cushionlon 3.0, you know what I mean? But I feel like Nike is using Cushionlon 3.0 in like a lot of their shoes, which I think is way better than Phylon. The only thing that sucks about it is that it does bottom up pretty quickly. But yeah, as far as the overall core feel goes, it feels really nice. It feels similar to the Sabrina 2s, which is of course a good thing, so it has really good core feel. Also, the heel compression is pretty nice, like I said, but it doesn't have as much compression as, you know, like the Sabrina 2 or the Luca 4s, even though those have Cushionlon 3.0 as well, right? However, not only does it have pretty nice heel compression, but it feels really nice for underfoot cushion as well, you know? Which is surprising because if you look at the insole, first of all, the insole is just alright. It's just a regular foam. It's not terrible, but it's also not super duper plush. So that feels okay, right? And then underneath that, we have a pretty stiff strobe board. It's like a normal strobe board, right? So I'm pretty sure once I break it in, it'll get a little bit softer, like traditional or like modern strobe boards. You know, like the old school strobe boards that are super duper glued down. Like in like the Luca 2s, you know? Those are super duper stiff, but these are just regular, right? So even just walking around in it, I can feel my heel digging into the foam, which feels really nice. There's a nice bit of compression underfoot in the heel. So the underfoot cushion in the heel and also combining it with the heel compression feels really nice, right? In the forefoot, it does get a little bit more dead. It's not as nice, of course. The foam is thinner. It's a little bit stiffer, which is, you know, pretty normal. Again, I would have liked a forefoot zoom unit, but that kind of sucks, right? So for 110 bucks, it's pretty nice, you know what I mean? But it's not amazing, you know, especially comparing it to a lot of the cushioning setups that are coming out from like Chinese companies, especially with the soft mesh strobe board. But still, like, I feel like they try to make a little bit more like a responsive setup with this shoe, which I do like, right? And also, with this design, right? I don't know what it is. Maybe this is the actual Cushionlon 3.0, but this is really freaking soft, right? And then we got like some plastic over it, right? I believe this is some plastic with this kind of like design, and it's iridescent, so it looks really cool, especially with the pearl colorway. Like, it actually looks like a pearl, which is amazing, right? And then around that, this foam, again, I'm guessing it's a foam carrier and maybe the Cushionlon 3.0 is in the core and it's softer, but yeah, either way, yeah, this part is extremely soft, right? So there is the cushioning setup there. Moving on to the upper. So the upper, they're using like a screen mesh material, right? And I feel like with the underlaying material, it looks like just like a regular textile material. But surprisingly, like, first of all, it's kind of thin. It's not the thinnest material. It's kind of thin, but it is glued down and pretty reinforced. Like, it doesn't like give too easily. It has a really nice, stiff, and supportive feel, and it still kind of conforms to my foot kind of well, which is nice, right? It's not the softest material, of course. There's a lot of soft materials out there, like, you know, the Liren 5s, the Luca 4s, you know, with the textile, really, really soft. This is actually quite supportive feeling, you know what I mean? It's thinner though, right? But again, it feels a little bit more on the glued down side of things, so it feels extremely supportive. But also another plus is that it doesn't really like pinch my foot, you know what I mean? So it feels pretty dang nice, and I feel like it'll break in pretty nicely, you know? It'll break in, get softer, and if it keeps that same amount of support with this material being pretty thin, then I feel like I'm gonna like it, right? And of course, all over that, we do have the screen mesh, but it's like a wire, like a, it doesn't feel like it's a plastic screen mesh. Maybe it is. It reminds me a little bit more of like a wired screen mesh almost. You know what I mean? But it does seem a little bit tougher, and of course that'll help with overall durability too. And also, I really like the layered look of the upper as well. It's a little bit easier to see in this colorway with the different shades of blue. But yeah, there's just this like, it kind of looks like you know, like the ocean and like the different depths of the ocean. that's what it kind of reminds me of. And it looks really, really cool. If they come out with a red colorway, I think that would be really cool. Or a Weatherman colorway, you know, like in the KDs, that would be so sick. And then having that kind of theme with this, with the different layers at the upper would be so awesome, right? And also with the swoosh, we have like a 3D swoosh on the lateral and also on the medial side, which is pretty cool. Also, the midfoot stays pretty dang, like it's a really sturdy feeling material, which I like, you know? And also going around the eyelets, we have a synthetic leather material for extra durability and also a little bit more structural rigidity here in the midfoot as well. And then for the tongue, we actually have like an average amount of padding. It looks kind of thick, however, it's a little bit more airy. You know, it's not as much foam as I thought. It has a little bit more air to it. We also have our logo here on top of the tongue. It's also a half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit. And then here in the ankle area, it seems like there's like an average amount of padding. You know, it's not super minimal, but also not super well padded. Like on the sides, it's around average. And then here in the back of the heel, it does get a little bit thicker. So that feels kind of cozy, you know, where my Achilles is, but for the most part, it's a pretty minimal feeling upper. And then here in the back, it says Asia. So that's pretty cool, right? So yeah, also for 110 bucks, it doesn't feel cheap at all either. You know what I mean? So it's I feel like, you know, if you want a really soft and really minimal feeling upper, then this isn't the best option. I feel like it'll break in pretty nicely, but we'll have to see on that. But if you want a very supportive and a little bit more stiffer feeling material that also still conforms to your foot kind of well, and there's no pinching for me right now, then this is a great option, right? So there's that. Moving on to the fit. So I went true to size, and this shoe fits me pretty dang well. For Nike, however, I feel like all their hoop shoes or all their shoes in general, I've been having to go up half a size, you know what I mean? So I guess that's like my Nike true to size, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's a little bit weird with Nike because all the other shoe companies like Way of Weight, 361 Degrees, Adidas, Under Armour, you know what I mean? I go true to size, you know, but with Nike, all their shoes, when I go true to size, I've been feeling really, really snug. So I go up half a size for most of my Nike shoes right now. So yeah, I guess go up half a size, but go to your Nike true to size if you know what size that is, right? So that's what I did here in the A1, and this shoe fits me really nicely. It's a snug fit as well. So here in the toe box, you know, it's a nice snug fit. My toes go pretty dang close to the edge of the shoe. However, here in for the width is freaking narrow. Look, it's like so pointy, you know what I mean? So that definitely feels a little bit uncomfortable. You know, it's not painful, but it is uncomfortable. I mean, that's just me walking around though, you know what I mean? And when I'm hooping, I like to have a really snug fit, so I'm sure I won't mind it as much when I start hooping. However, if you don't like a super duper snug fit, then probably go up half a size from what your Nike size is, right? So yeah. Nice snug fit for me. So there is the fit there. Moving on to the support in lockdown. Yeah, I feel like this shoe will be very, very supportive. Not only because of the upper being like really freaking sturdy, but also there's a lot of nice lateral counters, right? So first of all, we got this part here in the forefoot, right? So that's just rubber, right? We can see that it's connected with this part, right? So that's actually rubber coming up, acting as a sidewall, and then this is the actual midsole, right? So that comes up acting as a sidewall here. We also have the 3D swoosh that stiffens up the upper a good amount actually, and also the foam coming up. And like I keep saying, this upper is just so freaking rigid, you know what I mean? It has a really nice supportive feel. And then here in the heel, we have a really stiff internal TPU heel counter as well. So lateral containment feels like it's gonna be good. Also, lateral stability feels like it'll be pretty good as well. It's not a crazy outrigger, but it does protrude out a little bit here in the forefoot. So that feels nice, and overall lockdown feels really good too. And we got these kind of like flat laces as well, right? So support in lockdown feels really freaking nice, especially for how this like minimal this shoe feels. Like it feels really lightweight, you know? So as far as the overall weight goes, it comes in at 11 ounces, right? So that's actually a pretty dang lightweight. That's very, very lightweight. Let's check this colorway actually. At 11.1 ounces, right? So yeah, it feels extremely lightweight, which it is number wise. Also, it doesn't feel bulky at all. It feels overall very minimal, especially with this material. But even though it is like a thinner type of material, not the thinnest material, but it is a thinner material, it doesn't feel like super nimble, first of all, because the upper is, like I said, like I keep saying, is stiff, right? But also the overall shoe isn't super stiff. Like, so first of all, like the Luka 4s, you know, Luka 4s is just so flexible, so nimble feeling, so soft, right? I can't do that at all with the Asias. There's just so much more stiff, you know, from the overall sole of the shoe as well as the upper, you know. So it's just a way different feeling shoe than the Luka 4, even though they look kind of similar on the outside, you know. So there is the weight there. Moving on to the aesthetics, yeah, best looking shoe out right now in my personal. It looks so freaking clean, so good. Yeah, shout out to Ben. Like this, it looks so good, you know, and he did it with like no tech, like $110, you know. This colorway, the pink colorway also looks really nice, but I definitely feel like these look better. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, yeah, this shoe is feeling so nice, right? Especially for a guard, but also feels really nice for bigger dudes as well. You know what I mean? Like if you're a bigger dude, the support seems really good, you know? But also for guards, the core feels really nice, and even though the upper is a little bit stiffer, it conforms to my foot still pretty dang well. So we'll have to see on how all that breaks in, but it still feels pretty dang nice because also, like I said, it's a thinner material, and also it's a very lightweight shoe, right? And the cushion feels pretty nice. I just wish they added something in the forefoot, like a zoom in it, you know. But for $110, and they're giving us full length Cushlon 3.0, so it's not that bad, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm very excited to try these out. I'm gonna be playing them tomorrow. But yeah, that about wraps up my first impressions look on the A1. Again, if you guys do want to copy, try to leave in the link in the description box. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.